Good evening and welcome everyone. Our regular Sunday night guided meditation. And we'll begin the evening with just lighting the candles and incense and do a very short introductory chant just to warm us up a little bit. And then I'll offer a bit of guidance for the next hour or so. And then we'll close with a very simple chant as well. So tonight's chanting and meditation is dedicated in loving memory of our dear son, Ryan Samarasekara, who passed away 9 years ago. It was his birthday on the 19th today of April 1971. Son of Chitrani, stepson of Christopher, half-brother of Matthew, and nephew of Christine. And this is from Mrs. Chitrani Judson. And we'll do just the very beginning part of the evening chanting in English, which is found in the dark brown chanting book on page 19. So we'll do that page 19 and then also the English on page 20 of the preliminary homage. To the Blessed One, the Lord, who fully attained perfect enlightenment, to the teaching which he expounded so well, and to the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, to these the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, we render with offerings our rightful homage. It is well for us that the Blessed One, having attained liberation, still had compassion for later generations. May these simple offerings be accepted for our long-lasting benefit and for the happiness it gives us. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and Blessed One, I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. The teaching so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. Now let us pay preliminary homage to the Buddha, homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One, homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One, homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. So find a comfortable sitting position for the next bit of time. One that hopefully can be maintained for a period of about, not quite an hour at this point, 55 minutes, without having to move too much. Moving a bit is fine if you need to shift for comfort, but see if you can get centered and relaxed in your body, whether it's sitting in the chair or sitting on the floor, whatever position is comfortable. For meditation, not for sleeping. And what you're trying to do is to find that balance between alertness and relaxation in the body. So just to come in from the mental realms and into the embodied realm, noticing just the presence of having a physical body. The tactile sensation, the feeling of the body, the knowing of the presence of the body is our home base. This is our go-to place for our awareness as we meditate. A lot of the contemplations, and some of the ones that I'll offer tonight, are reflective contemplations. So we actually use the thought realm to direct our attention in a useful, skillful way to help settle the mind, compose the mind, and for active reflection to develop insight. But some of those meditations actually direct our attention back to the body. And so, in our tradition anyway, we tend to use the body as our anchor, the awareness of the body as our go-to base point, so that if the mind gets distracted in its contemplations, the thinking mind does, and gets drawn off into some other realms of thought, then we always refer back to and use the body as the basic ground. So wherever it feels comfortable, establish your attention with the breathing. There's really no prescribed place in the Buddhist teachings. Some teachers emphasize certain anatomical points in the body, like the belly or the chest or the tip of the nose. But those aren't really specified in the Buddha's actual instructions. So it's left up to us to find the most comfortable spot where you can notice it easily without having any kind of prescribed places where you have to place your attention. That can get a bit tense. So just notice where you notice it. For myself, I prefer the sensation, the feeling in the body, of the whole body, as a unit, broad, expansive, but not scattered, contained with the sensations of the body. And don't force the breathing. No pranayama is needed. Just tends to get a bit noisy. So if you find yourself breathing loudly to the extent that others might hear you, see if you can just calm that down, be not so forceful. Many people think of the Buddha's instructions about meditation as focusing on a narrow anatomical point, oftentimes taught with the breathing at the tip of the nose. But as I said, that's not an actual teaching within the Buddhist canon, although it's a very strong approach used in the commentaries and developed beyond that. If that works, it's great. If it seems to be a bit too tense or too tight, I wouldn't feel any obligation to doggedly pursue that. We're looking for an object of meditation that helps ease the mind, open the mind, relax, and keep it interested. I find that oftentimes it's very useful at the beginning of a meditation session to pick up a fairly active theme for contemplation, to use thought skillfully rather than letting thought run away with our attention based on thoughts of the past, thoughts of the future, plans, memories. See if we can actually direct our thought in a skillful way. Buddha teaches that the Dhamma is beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end. So at the beginning of a period of meditation, you can pick up any theme of contemplation that is inspiring and in line with the teachings, in line with the values that the Buddha instructs us in. Two of the most important ones that are very useful for a beginning period to just recollect are the virtues that we've picked up in our Buddhist training, the qualities of following non-harming precepts and the effects that those have on the heart or on the mind, reflecting on those. And also the reflections on generosity, giving, and the power that has to bring good into the world, and the power that has, when we recollect it, to ease the mind, gladden the mind, open the mind, bring a sense of contentment and ease and happiness when we think about it. So for just a minute, most of you probably follow some sort of precepts, either the 5 precepts, the 8 precepts, the 10 precepts, or the Siladra and Bhikkhu precepts. And just recollect for a moment the basic precepts of non-harming, not taking life. To the extent that you've been able to follow these precepts, what does it feel like when you've been able to refrain from taking the life of any living creature, even little insects? The sense of safety that you've given to all creatures, all sentient beings in this world. So think about the goodness that comes from that, and the fearlessness, the feeling of safety that you've helped bring into the world. What's that feel like? I know what it feels like to feel safe and secure, that people won't be trying to harm me. And you can imagine that at some level all sentient beings can feel that or experience that on some level. What does it feel like to honor other people's possessions, refrain from taking that which is not given? Another level of safety that we can bring into the world. I find it's a very lovely thought to know that if I leave a possession of mine leaving around the monastery, sometimes through forgetfulness or sometimes on purpose, that 99% of the time it's going to be there when I go back to find it. The other 1% of the time is probably when somebody picked it up to hold in safekeeping until I come back around. That feels really good. What does it feel like when you reflect on not taking advantage of people in a sensual way? The monks and residents at the monastery, novices, anagarkas, siladhara, all of us follow, while we're staying at the monastery, follow strict celibacy. Nobody's concerning themselves with trying to form relationships. For lay people in the world, it's using that kind of energy responsibly, not taking advantage of people, being respectful. That's not always the case, so reflect on the feeling that it brings to honor that level of respect for others. Not engaging in conscious lying, distorting the truth for our own interests. Sometimes we might miss a beat out of neglect or being too quick to speak. We might utter something that's not accurate or true, but watching that intention for truthfulness and general caring in speech altogether, harmlessness in our speech. Leaves the mind clear with fewer regrets. So these are the 4 basic precepts, moral precepts. The 5th precept of not taking intoxicants is more of a renunciate precept, but a very useful one to being able to keep the other 4. All the other rules of the monastic members of the community, most of them are derived, at least in the moral sense, from these 4 major ones, and then more renunciate precepts. But the basic non-harming precepts stem from these 4. So if you've taken them up for practicing with, take a wholesome pride in that, not as a way of judging others, but as a way of uplifting the mind. These are very rare qualities in the world, and we can do our best to reflect on them and allow them to influence our whole way of being. And when we think about them, we should feel very contented and happy, uplifted. Allow that to sink in for just a bit of time. If the mind wanders from that recollection, come back to your grounding in the body. It's your base point. And very gentle, quiet breathing in and out. Now, switching the theme of contemplation to the practice of giving, generosity, another way to uplift, gladden the mind. Reflecting, remembering the times that people have been generous, kind, offering either material support or emotional support, physical support of some sort. And what that felt like to receive that. A sense of kindness and well-wishing coming along with some sort of generous act or word or thought from somebody else. What does that feel like to receive that? Think of a time when you did the same for someone else. Offered some material requisite or some time for somebody's having difficulty, words of encouragement, even just listening. Not just, actually listening is one of the most powerful ways that we can offer our support and kindness. So recollect any time that something like that you've been able to offer. And what that feels like when you think about it. if we could establish the basis of our economy in giving and generosity rather than consuming and acquiring, we'd probably all be quite a bit happier. Recollecting those acts of giving and receiving, that reciprocity can open, gladden, soften, ease the mind. And again, if the mind is wandering, back to the base, the body, awareness, rhythm of breathing. And as we relax into the body and the mind, letting it settle little by little, we can notice the practice as it moves into beautiful in the middle. Be able to notice more subtle disturbances to the pristine, pure, quiet mind, the subtle disturbances that we call the hindrances, energetic, affective qualities of mind that tend to obstruct our settling very deeply into clarity. So just noticing the presence or absence of sense desire, the mind wanting to go out to seek some sort of pleasurable experience, memories of sights and sounds and tastes and smells and tactile sensations, and even the realm of ideas, fantasies. How those wishes for some sort of pleasurable stimulation draw our attention while we're meditating. If that's present, notice it. And even imagine what it would be like to be free from that. A mind that's, what does it feel like when you've been completely contented, not wanting anything? A feeling of ease and well-being and being replete, not needing anything. What does that, conjure up that image, what does that feel like? That feeling in the body. What does it feel like when there's the presence of aversion, ill will, bad memories of being harmed or being spoken to roughly? If you're holding on to those, notice the tension. Ask yourself, what might it feel like to be free from that, even for a brief period of time, if it's an ongoing experience? What would it be like to be free? What is it like when you don't experience that level of aversion, irritation, anger? Even on a small scale, what is it like? That sense of just a moment of kindness, of relaxation, of warmth, gentleness. What do those words bring up? How does that feel in the body? Gentle. Is there an experience of drowsiness, the third hindrance? Dullness, drowsiness? A not uncommon experience in meditation. Feels kind of heavy, leaden. But you can bring freshness. What does it feel like to breathe freshness through the head and the behind the eyes? Breathing in a sense of cool, refreshing energy, cool, refreshing air through the head, cleaning out the dullness, the drowsiness. What does it feel like to be alert, open, fresh, cool, attentive? Bring that up as a possibility, a feeling in the body. And there's the hindrance of agitation, restlessness, worry, concern, fear. Anxiety is not an uncommon hindrance, both in meditation and just living in this world these days. Agitation, distraction. Many of us experience that at various periods of time. So what does it feel like when that's not there? We all have periods of time when we're not distracted and anxious and fearful. Maybe occasionally in our meditations we can experience quality of stillness. So try that on for a minute. Move towards stillness and just hold that. Relax into that vast spacious stillness. And the last hindrance of doubt, the wavering mind, the unsure, the doubtful, also has a quality of restlessness and agitation often with it. Not clear if this is what you should be doing, where you should be going. Are the teachings really heading in the right direction? Questioning, thinking. And then its counter. What's it like when there's confidence? What does confidence feel like when you feel that? Stability. Conviction. Conviction in the teachings, the path, that even though it's not complete, the path hasn't been completed, there's movement in that direction and reinforcement that it's the best way to orient one's heart, orient one's mind. Confidence in the teachings. What does that feel like? All of these positive qualities in opposition to the 5 hindrances are ways to open, gladden, settle, compose the mind. The mind free from hindrances, even temporarily, is an opening to samma samadhi. So contentment, warmth, gentleness, alert, fresh, still, composed and confident. These are qualities of a mind that is free from hindrances. If you can conjure those qualities of mind up, just enjoy them, be with them, sink into the feeling of that clarity and calm. Just dwell with that, allow that to be there for a bit of time here. beautiful in the end. When the mind that gets collected and composed just starts to drop down, to step back from that entangled form of attention, entangled with all the sights and sounds and sensations, and particularly the thoughts, mental experience, feelings. The mind that steps back from being entangled with all of that. Seen enough, done enough. Stopping and stepping back. Disentangling. Deconstructing. The mind that's inclined just to step back into the quality of knowing rather than the characteristics of the objects of mind. Knowing the objects, but staying back from involvement with them. Attending to the qualities of the world around us, the world within us, attending to the qualities of transiency. Arising and ceasing right here and right now, in this moment. Not clinging to any of them. Not ultimately under our control, but the results of causes and conditions, bringing them into existence and letting them pass. No ultimate control. Feelings are feelings, just in and of themselves. Thoughts without a thinker, just arising, passing away due to conditions. Stepping back and letting go. And just keep letting go until there's nothing left to let go of. We can end with the verses on the Buddha's first exclamation, page 83 in the dark brown book. Andamayang Padma Buddhabhasta Tayo Panamase Aneka Jati Sangsarang Sandavisang Anibisang Gahakarang Gawe Santo Dukkha Jati Panupunam. For many lifetimes in the round of birth, wandering on endlessly, for the builder of this house I search. How painful is repeated birth. Gahakarakaditosi, punagehang nakahasi. Sabbate pasuka paga gahakutan visankatan visankaragatan chitan tanhanang kayam magama. House builder, you've been seen, another home you will not build. All your rafters have been snapped. Dismantled is your rich pole. The non-constructing mind has come to craving's end. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namassami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang